Guys, thanks so much for coming. Good to have you here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
Pleasure. And well, I want to start with a question to understand a bit more about your interaction as a duo sometimes. How did you guys meet? What was your first encounter?
Well, we first met actually around 12 or 13 years ago, I would say, in university in Lyon. When we joined the engineering university, we had a friend in common that introduced me to OPH back in the day. And the other thing is that Pierre was living still at his parents, but very close from my place, and I was living alone. So basically, when we were finishing university,
Yeah.
it was better to come to my place and to chill than to go back home and have to spend time
Like
with
there was
his
a subway
parents.
station, his place and mine, so I was always making a stop.
Yeah.
So,
A little pit stop and FIFA and enjoying time there and listening music, obviously.
Well, at the time you were not DJing. Were you thinking to DJ at all?
so depends on how. Let's say we were playing at friends' place, during parties. We had like a passion for electronic music already, but not DJing as taking it as seriously as now, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a little previous experience when I was in Morocco. When I was younger, I was around between 16 and 18 years old. I won a contest organized by Heineken. Was sponsored by Heineken in parties in Morocco. Was a different music style at the time, but yes, I was already kind of knew how to play music.
Yeah, yeah. So you had played in front of a crowd at that
Yes.
point. Okay. And then when you met, you started going to parties together as well, or you were just like mainly listening to music at home?
The thing is, for me, is like when I moved out from Morocco and joined France for university, the first 2 years were quite hard. So I stopped actually playing music or even digging much music. And we met after those 2 years. And this is the moment where I finally found someone where we could have, again, those talk about music and share
Yeah.
about music, especially genre that were like completely new to us. And yeah, we were basically listening a lot of music at home, but we started to go out again, which I was not doing for the first period of 2 years. And
But also at
actually,
the time, it was completely the opposite. I was full on electronic music
Yeah.
at the time.
Wow.
So when Chami had this first DJ experiences, like younger, I was not into electronic music at all at the time. I was coming more from a rock and metal background, and I suddenly dived in electronic music.
Okay.
And out of curiosity, I was like I created this website to talk about music and to write reviews, do interviews of artists, and also list all the parties that were happening in Lyon. And so I was going out a lot. Like I was every
Always
weekend,
out.
and that's exactly where we met.
yeah,
Actually.
I mean, our first to rebound on how really we connected really about music the first time is in a party. I think we went out to listen to Omar S.
Yeah.
That night was playing in Lyon, in Transborder, a club there. And when the party finished, everybody was going on because party finished early in France. And at this moment, same, he didn't want to go back home at his parents directly, so
Yeah.
he said, "Let's do a pit stop at your place." And we actually sit down on my sofa, opened our laptop, and we just started to listen music that are dear to our heart that we discovered over the years. One after, showing one track, then the other one track. And I think we stayed like this sitting for like 4 or 5 hours.
Wow.
And this was the moment where we really clicked and fell in love about music together.
Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, it's the moment that I remember perfectly that I was like, okay, this guy, I want to share even more music with him and
Yeah.
discuss music with him because he made me discover some music that I didn't know about, even some genre of electronic music that I was
Whoa.
just like, wow, that's amazing. He was opening doors for me, like into the electronic music world, which I really, really appreciated.
That's amazing and very beautiful as well. When you find another person, you can share this passion. You can add to each other and inspire each other.
Exactly.
It's like you can connect,
Yeah.
on similar tastes, but also you feel that what you don't know and the other person has to bring you might also interest you.
Yeah. You constantly evolve and grow. Wow, very cool. And eventually, so that was in Lyon. How long have you known each other in Lyon? So how many years did you spend in Lyon, and then you moved to Berlin at the same time, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved to Berlin around 10 years ago,
Yeah.
in 2014. Yeah, at the same time. I mean, I moved in June, you moved in August.
And and we lived in Lyon for, I mean, he was from Lyon, but I lived in Lyon for 4 years and a half.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew each other for 3 years, let's say. We spent the last 3 years of Lyon before moving to Berlin, knowing each other and
Wow.
spending time together.
And so when you moved to Berlin, of course you told each other, but were you planning to then make Berlin your home place? No.
Not at all. It was a 1 year internship because we had, in the same university, we're a group
Yeah.
of friends who were like in doing engineering studies, and at the same time who were interested in electronic music. And we had a part of the group which was 1 year older than us, and they already had moved for 1 year in Berlin, and then they moved back in Lyon. And we were basically the generation who was supposed just to go to replace them for a year and then come back. And for us was a good experience because the software engineering scene was booming and the startup scene was booming in Berlin at that time. And at the same time, we could also have many experience and getting closer and discover electronic music even deeper and have the Berlin experience here. So that's why we moved as a group of friends here. We're like 4 or 5 friends moving at the same time.
Did the other friends stay in the end, or just the two of you?
No, one of them. 2 of them stayed quite long, and one of them is still here at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's one thing you didn't expect about Berlin? Because of course you knew about the electronic music, you know about the startup scene and the...
But first of all, to jump on what you just said, I didn't expect that I would stay 10 years. Because as you said, I was supposed to stay just 1 year for an internship. And I was supposed to come back to Lyon to finish my studies. And I never went back, actually. I just finished my studies there and just kept on going, you know. And what I did not expect, actually, was the life outside of the club. Because we moved also, and I moved also with the heavy focus on partying, techno, and actually Berlin really fell in love with Berlin for also the quality of life here, also all the connections you can make with people that are from very different countries or backgrounds, and this kind of easiness of life, I would say.
Yeah, people take time to enjoy life.
Yeah.
Whether it's reading a book or taking care of their children or doing things for themselves, very beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it was also the fact that, I mean, we were quite young. We were like 22 or 23 when we moved in Berlin. And it was a time when you're building yourself. And then I had the feeling, and this is why I wanted to stay after my first year, that it was a place that was like kind of a playground where you could do everything you wanted.
Yeah.
And if you had a bit of motivation for whatever project, which was work life, music life, or whatever, you had really time and space to do it. And this was one of the main reasons why we stayed here, I think.
Yeah. And because you found yourself like a new home, you were happy here, and of course it was music. And when did you guys start thinking about being professional DJs and really putting a lot of efforts? Was it, so you arrived in 2014, did it take a while for you to start thinking about that?
Of course, it's something that anyway, when you start like collecting records and playing, even if you don't have the decision of being professional, it's something that is always in back of your head.
Yeah.
But that was very far. We didn't really, it was a very organic process. At the beginning, we were with a group of friends that also into music, in other genre also, like in disco, in house. And for us was just making parties for us, enjoying with friends. And that was the only thing that we were doing for a very long time before even considering calling ourselves like a DJ or a professional DJ. And it took like, I think 6-7 years even of this before like deciding to say, okay, now it's the moment where we want to push a little bit more and make things more professionally.
Yeah.
So the first motivation was the fun part and also enjoying our passion, which was music.
Yeah.
On that, I would add that it was also a lot of the fun part and enjoying and genuine interest for the music, but also so not having the professional end game, you know, as a goal, but more the doing things in a professional way, like still seriously, you know, but still with the fun.
Yeah. So fun important. It doesn't have to feel like a job,
Exactly,
but you still do it like with a lot of energy.
Dedication and
I mean, we had a job also, and we still have a job.
You still do the other jobs, like day jobs? Okay.
Yeah, 5 days a week. So it's also
very cool.
It's also a reason to try to keep the freedom that we want to have into the music part and to do what we want to have and not to have to make any concessions or any like choices because we need to live out of it.
Yeah, it's super important. Yeah. And face to face. So I know you spoke about it in many other interviews, but for people who don't know, what's the concept of face to face?
So, where to start? Let's say, shall we start by how it
how you
sparked actually?
Sure, yeah.
So as we said, we moved to Berlin together, and then at some point started to play in Paris. Thing is, as we play similar styles, and promoters did not have necessarily enough slots for the two of us in the same lineup. We often played back to backs, and the more back to back we played, the more we were saying at the end that there were those moments where we were creating third track moments when two tracks blend perfectly. But as we play strictly with vinyl, then we had to remove that track, the second track, to make the third track come in.
Yeah.
And it could be losing the dynamic, could be losing the moment sometimes. And we always thought it would be nice to maybe add a third turntable. When the Zone 96 came out, then we could actually plug a second headphone.
Mm-hmm.
We tried that, but we realized that we were like bothering each other in the booth, like it was not convenient for us to be on the same mixer.
You need to wait for the other person to leave to be able to control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or dancing too much. Or
If you do something next to it, it would remove the focus of
Exactly.
the other one. So that was also one of the reasons we were like, okay, if we wanted to play at the same time, we need to set up. Like each one of us needs to have his own mixer.
Yeah.
And the main goal was to be able to do like if you had 4 CDJ and basically keep the dynamic when you had two tracks fitting, layering to each other, and then find a way to bring the third one, and then continue this kind of evolution in the set that doesn't bring like, okay, put two tracks together, remove one, and then move another one, and try to fix this problem. So it was more trying to fix the flow that we had when we were playing together.
Yeah, got it. So that was the start of the idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the idea, so it was not yet the idea of the face-to-face, it was more like of a problem that we were trying to solve.
Yeah.
And when, let's say, COVID happened and we had a little bit more time to think, we started to dig into our things that inspired us, like, for example, the verses from Underground Resistance that happened in the past when they were playing facing each other. Or we saw the performance of Hector Rox and Sunil Sharp together, where they also played side by side, but with two vinyl setup.
Two mixers.
Yeah, two mixers and two turntable each, so 4 turntables. So this is where we try to see all of this inspiration and try to find out how we could do our own concept. And when we had the opportunity to do it the first time for a live stream, which had no pressure, it was a live stream with not so many views and so on. So we were like, you know what, it's the perfect opportunity to try it. And it didn't have even like a time, so it was open timing, so we could start and finish whenever we want. So we did 5 hours, just to experiment, basically.
Yeah.
Lot of improvisation,
yeah.
lot of good moments, lot of good
terrible
ones.
moments also. Like it was the first one, and we were still trying
Yeah.
to figure out what kind of music we wanted to play there. And but when we finished those 5 hours, we realized, okay, there is something there, and we need to sit down and trying to polish the concept and see how we want to play, why we want to play facing each other, how our communication needs to work during the set, how should we prepare it, how should we prepare our selection, and so on. So this is when we kind of polished the concept.
Got it. So and technically speaking, there is one mixer that is the master going to the booth, the monitors, and the main sound system, and the second one, master goes into one of the channels.
Exactly.
But also there is a master goes into the second. So
So both mixers are connected. So for the output for the people, only one mixer brings the sound out, and the other mixer is just a third channel of the master mixer.
Yeah.
But the master mixer is also connected to the other mixers to be able to hear the cue and know what's going on without having to rely only on the monitors when needed.
Perfect. Yeah. So it's almost like having each mixer as a third track, which is the master of the other mixer.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. And in terms of the preparation that goes into that, so the first live set you didn't prepare at all for that. You had the idea, but you didn't discussed before? No.
Yeah.
You just went like, let's go. And is that the one? I think I watched one streaming. Is that online still or?
No, the
No.
one that you're talking about was the one that was already a bit more prepared.
Okay.
That was the first one we recorded in a studio.
Yeah.
That has at least we had on this one we had at least a preparation on the music genre we want to do and the direction we wanted to take.
The type of tracks and also how to make it evolve.
Exactly. But no, the one I'm talking about was a pure live stream that was not recorded. So that's why we said it's the perfect way to try it out, because if it goes wrong, there will be no trace of it.
There's no evidence anymore.
Exactly.
It disappears.
It disappears after that.
And then right now, so now it's roughly 4 years later. Do you guys prepare? Do you talk about I'm gonna try to have this vibe, or you trust each other so much and you don't talk?
Like if we would prepare like a classic back to back, we would go like this with improvisation, you know. But for this, we need to prepare, at least for the reason that we are constantly layering on top of each other.
Yeah.
So we need to agree on how the intensity is gonna grow or evolve during the set, and also on the direction, because we don't want to hit too hard or too low. We want to also not do like zigzags, you know, in terms of style. That it keeps, you know, this consistency and coherence.
Yeah. And when you're playing, is there master who is, let's say, a person who's taking over the bass, also the kick, and the other person beats on top?
So just quickly to come back on the preparation, something that we always do before any shows, it's a bit like a live set, let's say. We write the story that we want to write, and we agree on we want to be a bit more deep on this one, we want to be a bit more banging at this time, we want to be a bit more groovy here, we want to be a bit old school here. So we write kind of a story that we know would fit potentially, like you would write a live set, basically.
With different moments.
Exactly, with different moments. And then we prepare our selection according to those moments.
Yeah.
And to come back to the lead, yes. So basically, each time we are playing, one has the lead and the other one is basically following or layering. And we have our special communication with signs to be able to show who has the lead, to show when we're going to pass the lead, and so on, to make sure that, of course, there is no moment where we are clashing with each other.
Yeah.
At the beginning, we're communicating a lot with signs because of that. I would say that now more and more it's very like it's just a blink of an eye. Like I leave if I have the lead, for example, I just put my heads up. He looks at me and I'm like giving him a sign with my head, and then he knows that he's taking the lead, and vice versa, basically.
Like second nature, you almost have like a muscle memory.
Exactly.
You feel each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you go back to how you prepare your story, how do you think about it? For example, let's say you're playing to a specific club, you never played before, so you don't really know what the vibe is, you don't really know what the crowd is. How do you think about the story?
For this, I think it depends on. So if we know the place, obviously we know what to expect, because we've been to the place and what is usually done here and how the crowd reacts. If we don't know, I would say it also depends on the duration of the set. If it's a rather short set, rather short, we usually don't.
No, there is no
short sets.
The shorter we do, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's really the minimum that we accept for this show.
Yeah, for short sets, then it would be 3 hours. The shortest set that we can play. It's we go like more straight to the point. So we still try to make a story, but we try to make it more efficient on the dance floor, while still keeping moments of when there is like one track playing, for instance.
Yeah.
One thing I want to add also on that is like we layer a lot, but it's not like a showcase of skills of how to blend 4 tracks together all the time. At some point there is like only 2 or 1 track playing.
Okay.
It's also it's a DJ set, you know. At the end, it's also important for the crowd to breathe.
Exactly, not too much sound information. And to come back also on the preparation of the story, it's also, you know, we look at the lineup that is booked at the same day, what time we're playing. I mean, after playing in many clubs, it's not because we didn't play in one that we cannot at least imagine.
Yeah.
Maybe we're wrong, but we're already imagining how it would be, what would be the crowd, how the crowd would be dancing. We see who plays before. We know usually the DJs who plays before, so we know on what kind of level of energy they will put them. So that's we take all the elements that are in our control to try to imagine it. But of course, there are a lot of elements which are not in our control, and then we have to adapt on the moment when we're playing.
Very interesting. So then you do a bit of preparation. You think about a storyline. You prepare individually what goes into each vinyl bag. So
we prepare our vinyl bags together.
Together, okay.
Because we have very similar records. So at the end, if we all bring the same, then then we have a problem. So we need to know who takes what and basically what we're trying to bring. So no, it's important. We prepare it like as a show, like if one person.
As a live set, as you said before.
Yeah, we are one person. It's not like a versus or back to back. It's really like for us, it's a very important show based on trust, and trust is the most important part. And what we're trying to do while playing is not to have two different words, is to really to merge in one word that is in the middle of our both word when we're playing.
Okay.
Also on that, when we start to prepare a show, because it's not a show that we do that often, and we want to keep it that way also, to not do it every weekend, you know. So all the preparations are quite spaced in time. So there is always this moment, like the two first time we meet to prepare, we don't necessarily play actually. We talk about what inspired us recently. We like kind of rediscover who at what point we reconnect. Yeah, exactly. At what point are we now in music? What was the last thing that touched us, and what are the ideas we want to try actually?
Yeah. So you do debriefs, or if you want to, you align on what you're feeling at the moment, what you want to express.
Exactly. We need to rematch basically in terms of mindset, in terms of energy, because we have our both separate solo careers. So sometimes we play way more solos, and then when we have to prepare another show face to face, let's say a month and a half after, then we're like, okay, we need to reconnect, share our experience that happened lately, and then basically start again on a page where we are on the same page.
Yeah, it's like successful relationship, healthy relationship. So, I know you said that before an interview, it's like having a husband or
exactly.
Partner.
It's the same. We have our bad part also. We have our fights.
I'm gonna ask you about that in a second.
We have our definitely.
It's like a open marriage, basically.
Exactly.
You debrief, you're like, okay. And when you, for example, give me some signs. Like, what would be a sign that you give to each other? For example, I don't know, Pierre, you're looking at Chami, you want to take the lead. Chami has the lead in this moment. You want to go on with your lead. How would you say to Chami with signs?
Actually, so for the lead, that's more like we give the lead. So that like the other keeps like supporting, and then
until you give it,
I will just point, you know, like it's you, and then I will start to, you know, to do my thing. And I think another one that is quite easy to grasp is the duration one.
Yeah.
Like to know how much time is left on the record, because sometimes the booth is too wide and we cannot see the other one's per record. So for this side,
this we have like signs where we leave, for example, we start to show numbers basically. So if I tell you I give you the lead, but then I tell him, like, for example, there is only 2/3 of the record left. So I will show him that there is 2/3. So he knows he has the lead, and he knows basically if he has to hurry up or if he can take his time to build up what he wants to build. So this is what also important to know sometimes. Because, like he said, sometimes we're very far away, and we can't look at the records of the other one. We have no instruction. So, and as there is a lot of sound information, sometimes it's hard to keep track of where we are in his record. Is it playing for a long time or not? So we have to have some signs like this.
Yeah.
So 2/3, or like, and if it's panic mode, there is new signs.
Yeah.
You're like, go.
Like, do it.
Do you have, I don't know, like if something goes bad, for example, I don't know, you're train braking for a second, how do you make sure that you can realign? For example,
Well, about the lead, actually.
Lead.
That's what the lead is also for. It's not that you decide the direction, but also, let's say if Chami has the lead, and I see that there's like a record is off beat, I will try to check, but he will have the lead on the beat match, because if we are both correcting at the same time, it's not working.
Yeah.
So the
the
lead
one
has
that
to.
has the lead is the one more in charge of correcting, of course with the help of the other if needed, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
he decides more.
So we have also like first of all, as I said, it's based on trust. Whatever happens, even wrong, we stay calm and we let the other one getting out of the situation, and we know each other and we know that the other one knows perfectly what to do to
Yes.
get out of the situation. So there is no trying to fix what the other one is doing, and we never do that. Like that's very important. And
Yeah.
then we have also things that it's a little bit hard to explain, but we know, for example, when I have the lead, that whatever I do, I will focus only on the beat match of what's happening in my mixer, and he will focus on whatever is added from his side, and I will not care about it, me, in terms of beat matching. So, but sometimes it's different because we're the moment we're like passing the lead, and then so I have to take care also of what's happening also on his side. So, but this we know, and it's hard to explain when we switch mode in our brain, but this is something that came with time and with practicing, basically.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, after you do a lot of stage time or practice at home, you understand these things like
Exactly.
without speaking.
Also, at some point, with the after like a couple of hours playing, you get into this also trance state of mind where you're like we call it the God mode, you know, where we can just correct at the same time and it works. There's like
Exactly.
sometimes when you're like in the flow and vibing, it also reflects on our connection as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's one thing that you guys have learned from each other in this process of working so much together, spending time together, being friends and so close?
If I say for me, musically speaking, is music knowledge and the deepness of my music knowledge and the wideness of the range of style that I could play, I learned from him. When I started to play techno, I was very, very specific in one genre, and he had such a music knowledge, like historical knowledge, that this is what I learned from here, definitely. My music background is basically because of him.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean to jump on that also, like for me, musically speaking, it's so yeah, I was playing a lot of different styles, but didn't know really how to correctly construct a set so that it will talk to people. I was going to every direction, and Chami really helped me to focus more on or to learn how to create a set actually that makes sense and be also digestible by people and that people can also understand. And yeah, that's more like on these more like technicalities and more understanding the crowd. That it was a big boost for me and changed basically everything also.
Very interesting. And beyond music, what have you learned from each other?
So much.
A lot, actually, a lot. It was, as I said, we had a very deep and relationship that had very good moment, very terrible moment also that lasted also for a while, where we learned about ourselves. We learned about our things that we do wrong, so that helped us also evolve in our outside world relationship with people. I would say something that I learned from Pierre is really how to think about my relation with other people, how I express myself in the middle of other people, I would say. Learning also how to take a step back and not trying always to pass my message. That's something that I learned definitely from him.
It's funny because I would say something quite similar actually. But for different reasons and different I mean, people who really know us will understand the difference. But for me, it's more also about how to communicate and also how to receive emotions, you know, and to not react directly and to take a step back, to take things a bit more easy.
Yeah, it's great because you guys have you know each other for more than 10 years. You have evolved together like now for probably 13 years, 14 years.
Yeah.
So you've lived through so many things, right? And you're still so close that you basically grew up together. Like
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we lived the most important period of our life, those 10 years, and not just 10 years. If you meet someone at 30 years old and you do 10 years until 40, it's not the same that your 20s. 20s is really the time you're building your personality and your character. So
very true. And also you moved city, you went into a different path. You developed your music career. You developed your other career after studying. So a lot of things happened.
Exactly.
And tell me some of the hard stuff. Like, what do you? Okay, so let's start easy. What do you fight about? What do you argue about?
Most of the time, I think it started about wrong setting of expectations. When someone is like in any relationship, when someone expects something from the other one and the other one doesn't know this level of expectation and doesn't live to the expectation, it creates disappointment, so it creates tension and it creates fights. I think that was one of the first things that created sometimes tension. So this needed some realignment and readjustment there. There was also, of course, we had a period where we were both have had a lot of ego and wanted to affirm our ego. So it took us also time to learn how to break completely our ego and to not let this ego talk first or behave first.
Related to music? That was related to music, or
related in music and not in general, but ego in both sides. You know, not feeling offended by something when someone says something, but also at the same time not trying to push your idea too much, or like learning how to make sure that our ego doesn't overcome any of our exchange, basically. There was also one source of problem, and sometimes another example that I have is when we prepare and when we see, for example, a new show and we're every day seeing each other for after work. So we work till 6, 7 p.m. Then we meet to work another 3 hours on listening music because we just listen record after record to try to think what we want to do for like 10 days. I think after 10 days, we just want to kill each other. Like, I can't see him. So he arrived, we don't talk, we just listen music, we go straight to the point, and then we're like, okay, goodbye, and everybody goes home.
please shut up.
We don't go to the same after.
No.
After a big show, after an important show, our most important shows, after there is always like a week or 10 days where we don't see each other. Like
You need space for
of course,
alone.
of course.
Wow.
Even
It's like,
it's not also about if we were fighting during the preparation. Sometimes there's preparation that go really well, but it's just even for your mind. You've been seeing constantly was your focus. You just also need to take some space. I agree with you on the point actually that I don't really see something to add. It's more like the ego or like expectations. But for this, I think I'm happy that we managed to. Now we don't really fight anymore. Actually, we see it coming. We know each other, but we're really also solution oriented. We don't want to lose time having a fight that we can just wait, and then we talk about it. You know.
Yeah. You address it when it's coming.
I think
definitely.
it comes because we trust each other that we are gonna be listened if we have something to say, and that it's gonna be solved. You know.
Yeah.
And actually, sorry, just to finish on this, recently, the few moments where we needed to talk about something and we didn't talk about it, at the moment we were starting to play, we didn't really like what we were doing at all. And at the moment we solved the problem, on the same day, we start to play again, everything we were doing, we were enjoying it and liking it and taking notes. That when we were like playing randomly just to get ideas, and we were taking notes because they were like good ideas, it was flowing. So we could feel when it flows and when it doesn't flow and something needs to be fixed.
It's so interesting. So you start playing, you force yourself to play, but actually, I don't know, maybe your body, your mind is unfocused, you have resentment. Is it resentment or something else that comes up?
No, it's not resentment. It's just sometimes it's like it can happen also with your own self. You know, sometimes you turn on the turntables and the mixer and you start playing and you're like, nah, not today. But sometimes it happens not today, not the day after. So you feel that there is something that doesn't flow, or I do something and what he's proposing on top doesn't match, or the other way around. And
You were talking about like us looking like a relationship. It's like the sex drive in a long-term relationship.
I was gonna say it's the same thing, right? You want to have sex, but you can't.
Exactly.
And then you talk, and then it's okay.
Yeah. So you guys, for example, you catch yourself feeling it not flowing with the other. Do you stop in a moment? You're like, we should talk.
Yeah, that's what we do. We try it for like, I would say, like half an hour, 45 minutes. If after 45 minutes we see it doesn't click, at some point we're like, okay, we need to talk. Either we just stop completely doing music and we just start talking. Sometimes can be not even related to both of us, like a problem can be also just one of us has an issue that makes him disconnected from the other one.
Yeah.
That is also personal. So there are some days where we plan to prepare something and at the end we just talk about many things and catch up and or fix a problem that we have, a problem or a situation that we need to fix. Until it start flowing again, and then the days after we earn time actually because everything is way easier and much more flowing.
Yeah, It's a big suggestion also for relationships in general. Talk.
We will give couple therapy afterwards.
I was,
I'm
do you have a
not sure we're applying this on our private relationships.
Do you so that's a very interesting point. So you definitely evolved as a not as a couple, of course, but as a duo.
Yeah.
Right. And you learn so much how to deal with the other person, to take care of the other person, to listen, to communicate. Does that translate into making you a better relationship partner for other relationships?
I think so too. No, I think so. I
Yeah.
think definitely yes. But I think you don't apply everything, because there is one thing that is the key also, when you don't have when it's not like a relationship with your partner, like a love relationship, is that you still have a level of feelings that is a little bit lower, and you have also the moment where things are a bit too much pressure. You can also just, as I said, you just don't see for 2
Yeah.
weeks or something like this, which is harder to make in a love and relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could definitely work, but it's different. So.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of inspiration from there that I apply also in my private relationships.
Totally. I mean, in terms of communication, but I think also it's like we also have this project, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like this project keeps us going if we are not like, you know, having a big connection at a specific time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the same with couples, you know, like if you have like if you like started to build a family or things like this, then you have this external thing, like this third entity that keeps you going, you know.
Yeah, you have like a shared vision. You're going towards
exactly.
something. Although, as you were saying as well, like imagine you have a kid, you live in the same house. You cannot say, "Hey, bye, see you in 2 weeks."
Exactly.
Enjoy.
Exactly.
Take care of the kids.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, fair enough. And one thing that I wanted to ask you is, you guys both played in Berghain as a duo, but also separately. You did the closing very recently. How does it feel when you play in that club as a duo versus how it feels when you play as a solo artist?
First of all, when we played as face-to-face, we are not playing in the booth because the booth cannot contain because we have
setup.
to turn the setup on the side.
Yeah.
So we use the live stage. So for us, first of all, playing solo was of discovering the booth also.
Yeah. Because
on the really simple terms.
You played first as a duo, right?
Yes.
You played as
we
face
played
to
first
face.
as face-to-face 2 times, and then started to play solo there.
Okay.
But then in terms of sound and mixing style, I think it's also we are not so different from what we play together. Of course, there are things that are more personal that we add to our solo shows, to our solo sets. Sorry, but besides the very personal dimension that it will take, I don't see big difference, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like, of course, playing there was of course, living in Berlin was always a dream. So the feeling, the inside feeling that when we play together or solo, there is no difference at all. The main difference for me is that, as I said, when we play face to face, there is less part of full improvisation. So it's more like, again, a live show, live set feeling there. Than when we play solo, and then we know we're alone and we don't have to cope with anyone else, and then we can decide whatever we want on the moment and play our own sensitivities that also sometimes doesn't work with the others, because when we play together we have some veto track from the other one that not allowed to play, like this one veto. So now each time we prepare face to face, for example, he would make me listen a track that I don't like, I was like, for your solo set. And he would say
Put
the
in that
same.
bucket.
I would put a track and he was like, for your solo set, not for our face to face.
So the preparation was already done. You just,
Then we do this separation. But I think in terms of feelings, no, I mean, again, we have the same. I have the same feeling before, during, and after. My only problem is when he plays solo and I don't play. I'm actually fucking stressed for the first hour of his set all the time.
So when you're going to listen, you're not playing, you're not involved in the
It's
performance.
such a weird feeling not
So
to be in the booth and not being together in the same state of mind.
Okay.
And being there and be like, yeah, of course. It's like if I was playing but I cannot decide what I'm doing. So my feeling is like really on tension for the first 4 hours all the time. I cannot talk to people. I cannot like smile. I cannot enjoy until I see him fully locked in his set. Then I can release and then I can start like enjoying the set.
And do you catch him being like that?
Yeah, totally. For me, like also wait for the first cigarette he will light. I'm like, okay, cool. Now he's
and he's the same. So it's the same when I play. Yeah.
I'm switching between moments, and I know for you where I'm like next to the booth, or like really focused, and then moments where I'm like, okay, I will just I need to be out for like 20 minutes, and you know, because of the stress, you know.
Yeah. So and it's interesting. So when you are you're as a duo, you're more relaxed.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I play, I'm more relaxed than when he plays as a solo. When I play as a solo before my set, I am more relaxed than when he plays because, as I said, it feels like I am playing and I'm a bit of a control freak, you can say, and not being able to do anything. But it was like me who was in the booth, have this feeling, but cannot decide what's gonna be done.
Yeah, it's like losing control. You feel like you're losing control.
And not being there to react also if there's something wrong, you know, that is happening.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Also, I read in one of the interviews you released some time ago on Pierre that you were saying sometimes playing in Bergen, especially, it's like feels like a theater play where you're doing one of the main acts. Can you explain a bit more about like what does that mean?
So for me, Bergen is open for quite a long period of time, we can say, and I can feel that for each time slot, so 0 midnight, 4, 8 a.m. and then until the closing, there is not a particular style or specific sound that is expected, but there is a way to play that is expected, and a way to play with the energy of the people also that are here at that time. And for me, the interesting thing is when you see people that make a good set in their time slot, that understood what they needed to do for the people at that time, then you have the feeling that you see a play, the same theater play, every weekend, but with different actors, meaning different styles, different sensitivities, different music playing. I find it really interesting actually, and I think it's also a good help if you go often to Berghain as a dancer. Then you have to play there, that you know actually what the people expect, but you also know more or less it gives you guidelines on the story that you can also tell at that moment.
Yeah, because you have seen the theater play, you can give your interpretation, but you know how to make it flow.
Yeah,
very interesting. And Chami, to you, what has been like a recent set, maybe Bergen or another set, that really gave you a strong emotion, like something similar to what you would find in Bergen?
So for me, it's always about, I'm someone who loves to play as long as possible, because I reach some state of mind that you cannot reach in a short amount of time. Yeah. And when I say a short amount of time, 4 hours is still a short amount of time. So definitely each time I had the opportunity to play very long. So if I had to pick up even two moments where I really had like some feelings that I never had before, was of course my last closing in Berghain, but also our last year face-to-face closing in Bassiani. Okay. Where there is still the open end, like it was back in the day, and we played for 11 hours.
Wow.
So there was a moment where I had some feelings and emotions that I never had in my life at all for anything. And it's very hard to describe, very hard to, when like each kick, each synth lines that arrives like start to create goosebumps in your body, even of tracks that you know that you already played, but your brain starts to hear them completely differently. Wow. And the feedback from the crowd, you start to be so much more sensitive to it. Like you would feel even without looking where they're dancing a bit harder, when they're like dancing a bit more dreamy, a bit slower, like when they're like more tripping, and you would feel all of this. And this for me happens only when I can play very long. That's why for me, my biggest emotional sets were always very long sets.
Yeah. Do you think on the length, could it be because your mind shuts down more and more? You go into this like instinct mode.
Exactly. You're in an instinct mode, you're in a trance mode, basically.
Yeah.
You start to be in a feeling. I mean, of course we play very diverse music, but let's remember that we play also very repetitive music somehow that creates kind of a sort of hypnosis and a mind hypnosis. So you really get deeper and deeper in the state of hypnosis even while playing. There is a moment where I cannot even answer to people, I cannot even look at people. I'm just like in my zone doing what I do, and I don't even see the time passing. Like it's really like 11 hours went like this. Like really at the end, of course when we stop, I feel my back, and then I'm like, oh shit, I played 11 hours. I was standing for 11 hours like playing. But apart from that, no, during the moment, I don't feel anything really. I mean, I don't feel anything bad. I'm just in my zone feeling only things positive.
Very interesting. So, and you go into this kind of state of flow. Yeah. And Pierre, you started producing like a few years ago. How does that compare to playing a long set, for example?
How does that compare to playing a long set? I would
Emotionally,
say,
like
emotionally, yeah. First of all, when I started producing, I was let's say I was playing for a long time as a DJ, and it took me a while to actually put effort, you know, and start to really be dedicated like daily to producing seriously, you know. And at the beginning, it was very frustrating because you see that you have a lot of things to learn. But then you start to have more confidence, and then you can get into this zone actually, like this flow of when you're like you have a track that is running for hours and hours, and you don't shut the session. You can get also into this zone, and I would say that's something that I like to do, that I try to do at least, is to recreate those moments that Chami just described. For me, that's the producing at the moment. It's I'm still also figuring out my the direction I want to take. I don't have like necessarily release plan for now, but what I want to have is those moments, you know, like inspiration from the dance floor or from being behind the booth. What it triggered in my brain, can I actually feel the same again? That's the main inspiration for me.
Yeah. And for example, where do you currently draw inspiration from? Is it clubs?
Me has been always clubs.
Always clubs.
I'm going out nearly every weekend since I started to go out.
Yeah.
I continue. Even when I have a gig, I come back. If I have a bit of energy, I go for a few hours.
Present.
It's something that the period of COVID, I really realized that without going out, I was having no inspiration for anything. And then this is where I realized this is where I get everything. So I don't go out just to go out. It's really a place where I need to listen, first of all, to what other DJs are doing. This is something that brings me a lot of inspiration. But not only, all the interaction of people in the club, all how things are going, the way they express themselves, the energy flowing in the club. Sometimes I'm just sitting at the bar and just looking what's going on and what's happening. And sometimes I need to dance. Like, I mean, I come from the dance floor, and that will never change, no matter how much I have to play. I have to dance. And if I don't, DJing is not enough for me. There is the DJing part that is a need for me, and I have to do to feel happy. But dancing on the dance floor is also a need for me, and I will continue dancing for as much as I can.
Yeah. It's so clubs for you is really very important.
That's why I love clubs, for example. I'm more from the club culture. I'm not a big fan of festivals, for example. This is not really where I like. There are a list of festivals that I like, but for me, where I really love the energy and love to be there and feel like if I'm home, I'm in my zone, is in a club. I love the club feeling.
Yeah. And Pierre, similar for you?
On this, totally. Coming from the dance floor, and on that I would add something also that I say in another interview, that during COVID we realized also that we were deeply impacted by the lack of dance floor and being able to dance. And for me it was going beyond just not meeting with your friend or having fun. I really realized this therapeutical effect that it can have on you. And for me it makes sense also, like it's a human need to dance. There are things that happen in your brain when you dance. That's for me that's deeply human actually.
Is the inspiration source for you is the same production and DJing? You get the same inspiration from clubs and dancing, also for your productions?
So for both actually, yeah. When I DJ, I try to recreate emotions that I felt on the dance floor. With if you add like the also things that I want to play, like more like from a digging aspect, that I see that there is this that could be interesting, that I try to add on top. And for production, it's I try to recreate some of those emotions or moments. Try to understand also how they are generated, because there's what you hear in your headphone or your monitors at home, but also what you can hear on the dance floor after a couple of hours. So trying to think about the cognitive effect of sound. And also trying to, like with production, trying to figure out the direction I want to take, because that's something that is complicated coming from DJing first. I've been DJing so many styles, and it's different to pick then which style I should do, and I don't think I should do one style. But I don't want to also go into too many different directions. So that's why I think the focus should not be so much on the style, but more on what you want to convey as emotions.
Yeah.
And then the style can take some different forms, but the more important is on the emotions you want to convey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the end, like any art is meant to communicate emotions or ideas. Yeah. And one question I had was also, one of you said in an interview that it took you 7 years to get to a point where you were comfortable with what you were playing, technically comfortable. Do you feel like now you got to a level of skills, and can you really communicate your emotions, and you're happy with your skills DJing?
The funny things with DJing is that you always reach, when you play for so many years, you will reach a moment where you're like, I think I understood everything, I know everything, and then suddenly you have some experience that brings you something new, and you're like, fuck, this year I also learned like a new way of controlling the dance floor, a new way of sharing some emotions. So I think it's an ongoing process. I think you mentioned the 7 years. I think more what he mentioned, it's more also of for any also newcomer DJ, someone who is just starting, you need to let a certain amount of time to let it sink, to grow, and to have experience, to play in front of a way smaller crowd. Even if you think you're good and you have a good selection and a good technique, is not enough, because there are things that you can't, even as much talented as you are, you can't do fast forward, and you need this experience. So it's more about letting yourself grow as a DJ before thinking, okay, I can be on big stages and I have the potential. You can have the potential to be on big stages, but maybe you don't have yet the level to be on big stages. And even the first time you play on big stages, you're still going to learn many things where you're going to be even better and better on when I say big stages, means also bigger club, a bigger crowd, or let's say place with more pressure when you play. So I think it's an ongoing process, and it's a process that takes time. It's not something that you can learn in a year or two.
Yeah, and are you a patient people, both of you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Mostly,
for that, especially for what you want to achieve, something that is dear and important to me, for example, yes, I'm very patient. I don't try to move too fast or to. And, you know, sometimes when you do what you're doing with a certain level of confidence and with a certain dedication, and you know you're putting a lot of hard work in it, you become very patient into when it's going to start paying off.
Yeah.
You're not like saying to yourself, oh, I worked so hard last year and then I don't see it paying off. It will pay off, continue, and it will pay off maybe in 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, that's very important. Do you guys know what drives you as a person, like in life? Have you spent time thinking what really drives you?
Yeah, I mean, go first.
No, I would think about accomplishing things first, to also make a connection with what you just said, accomplishing things that also make sense. So more like in a organic way, that it makes sense for me to do that at that moment. And yeah, I would say it's more also surrounding yourself with good people. I would say this year, what I achieve and the chosen family that surround me also.
Yeah,
that's
those
what
things are
drives
very
me in life,
important. Yeah, and music in a way is kind of like having this vision in music. It's something you want to achieve, so it fulfills that kind of like need for you probably, and it brings you great people around.
Exactly.
Chami, but also others. Yeah.
For me, it's basically being happy and then doing what brings me the level of emotion and of happiness that I want to have in my life. And I know that for me, playing music, no matter where I play or in front of who I play, it's something that is important for me. Like it's
Yeah.
something that drives me and something that I don't want it to stop. And
Yeah.
the other way around, that making me go back home on the Sunday night and go to bed and sleep very happy with a smile.
Yeah, that's great. And do you feel like you're satisfied now with life? You're happy with what you are?
I was always happy and satisfied with life. I mean, life has
Yeah.
moments, and you go through all the moments. I was never unsatisfied by things that were happening. This is why I was talking about the patience of, for us, just being connected to this word, even before starting playing as often as we're playing now, being connected to this word, having the chance to live your passion from the inside,
Yeah.
meeting the right people, meeting the people that you admired for so many years. I think it was already a big privilege, and we know that is a big privilege.
It is,
And
yeah.
so I will always be satisfied about what's happening as far as I'm connected to the music scene, even if I'm one of the main actor or not. But I will always be satisfied about it.
Yeah.
The same for me. Like often reflect back on the years, and I feel extremely grateful for everything that either I did or happened to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's super important. I think that's it's a big thing that I think I see in people who are fundamentally, they have joy, is the gratitude that they have for anything they have in life. They don't take things for granted.
Yeah, and also there is no finality. There is no destination we're trying to reach. It's
Yeah.
just about the past and the process, and we just want this process of trying to reach something that we don't know what it is. Will continue as long as possible.
Yeah. And I fully agree. I think it's beautiful. Not everybody has it, unfortunately. I think it's easy to go into think what I'm missing from life, right? And then focus on that part, and then you feel like, oh shit, life sucks. You start not you start discarding what you have. You think
Exactly.
about what you want, of what's missing. We always would want something, right? You are ambitious, you want to have something else, but I think focusing on what we have is very important for happiness, satisfaction.
Definitely.
And I think, for example, Jesse Marron, we did an interview now a year ago, and he strikes me because he's very grateful as a person, right? And he was saying the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who I over the last year connected a lot also with, because we really shared same values and same. We had like very lot of similarities on
Yeah.
how we were seeing this process of playing music, and that's why we also connected also on a more on a friendship level and human level.
Yeah, it was super inspiring. Let's talk about also tough moments. I know you had I think an accident last year. You had a leg.
Ankle injury. Yeah.
Yeah.
I broke everything that was possible to break.
I'm sorry. How's that going now? Are you fully back on track?
It will take some years to be recovered, but no, it's okay. I can walk and I can dance again, so it's for now it's manageable.
Yeah. Again, great gratitude, right? Yeah. Did you have any moments so far where you felt everything is going wrong?
For me, COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
COVID, yeah.
I was super depressed. For me, life had no sense anymore.
Yeah.
And even if we still met people, as he said, had fun with friends and so on, something important was missing
Right.
to me, and it didn't make sense anymore. And this,
Yeah.
I thought like, the word is like off now, like for me. And I was not feeling good at all. I had to leave at some point, even Berlin, go back to my parents' place for like a month or two to be able to think about it from an outside perspective, because it was making me so sad to see the city like this compared to what it was few months or few years before.
Yeah. It was very tough, yeah.
I would say the same actually, COVID. I mean, you mentioned the ankle, but the accidents, but for me it was actually, I was on my couch all the day, so I was also a lot on Hamilton, so it was actually not so bad in the end.
That was when you broke your ankle.
Yeah. But
COVID
actually
was
the,
hard,
the sad, the tough moment was COVID totally. Like because of, as I said, the lack of dance floor and the lack of the need for this actually to dance and to be connected. But also for me it was more like when COVID faded away more or less, and scene started to come back to life again. So it changed, and I was also not really sure like if I still belong there actually, because I was seeing the sound that was really popular at the moment, and it was making me quite depressed. And I was like, okay, if this is going this sound, maybe I'm just gonna have to sell my collection.
Yeah, when he
and
told
that's
me
it,
this, I
you
was
know?
like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was
No,
like,
I was
okay,
like,
I'm just gonna
not
sell it,
seriously
finish
considering
everything.
it, but I was like, okay, maybe I just need to stop actually and do something else. And what actually saved me was the community actually, like meeting people like-minded and supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was that's why it's really important for me now to create bonds with people.
Yeah, to have the social connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, super important. How do you imagine your life 10 years from now? If you can design the perfect life or your ideal life?
Honestly, for me, continue like it
That is-
is, and of course, continue achieving the project I have in mind. There is many things that I want to do in the music, but also outside, and continue to have the time and the drive and the strive to do it and the energy to do it.
Mhm.
But I don't see any major or big change.
Yeah, you have everything you want already.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Lost.
maybe that I think I want now, and probably
Yeah.
things will change. That's why it's hard to project yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to things to continue evolving like they're evolving now. Not they're staying like how they are now, but they continue evolving the same way they're evolving now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree on that. I don't have a clear idea because also it's on my own judgment of now. Maybe I want something different in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look back 10 years ago and everything that happened, I'm really happy, and I want in 10 years to look back and be also really happy about
Mm-hmm.
everything that happened.
Yeah, it seems that you guys are both like pretty happy where you are, and like you're enjoying. You're really taking time to appreciate what you have, which is beautiful.
We're
Yeah.
full of ambition and full of
Yeah.
ideas to start,
Yeah.
but also appreciating the moment as well.
Yeah, and for other emerging producers or DJs who are thinking and embarking on the same path, they really enjoy making music and playing in front of people. What could be an advice that you would give them if they were in your situation 10 years ago when they were just starting out?
As I said earlier, for me, take your time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to let your sound mature, to let your connection to the club mature. This is really, really, really important. Don't be in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more you focus on what is important, which is making music or digging records or building your own sound, this is way more important than trying to be outside as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Things will happen naturally. And the second advice is also connect yourself with, if you like clubs, the club culture, if you like festival, the festival culture. Try to see all the aspects of the actors of the night. Don't retain yourself of being just a DJ. Try to first understand the technical part also of the sound and how sound works. That's the first layer. Second layer, try to understand how you create a vibe in a club, how the bartenders are working, how the bouncers is working, how the community in a club works. Going into other clubs, try to compare different clubs in the world. Why is it different, the way of partying? This is things that are really important and that you should focus on from the beginning, I think, to be able to become someone who is able to provide music for a certain crowd in a certain moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Agreed.
Done.
No,
Same.
yeah, like being curious, patient,
Mm-hmm.
and dedicated. Also, it's a really good point, the last one, that some people are also saying, yeah, but I don't understand, my career doesn't pick up because I'm doing all those efforts. But then you see the efforts are like really focused on a few things actually. They
Yeah.
do a lot, but just a few things, where there's like actually wide aspect of things actually that needs to be considered when evolving in the scene.
Yeah. For example, so you guys mentioned already working on your craft, selecting records, skills. What else? For example, for someone who has done that part and they want to start playing in front of people, how can they approach? One is connecting with the community.
Yeah, also doing things.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we also started. Doing parties, even small.
Yeah.
100 people in a small bar with friends. This is how you start. Like, don't underestimate those moments because you're gonna rent a sound system that's not gonna work. You're gonna understand how sound system works. You're gonna understand how it is to promote a night and so on. So doing things if you have the opportunity to do it, even on a low level, this is really important. And if you produce music, of course, continue making sure that your music evolve and providing it to the right people and making it listen to the right people and trying to have the support from people like in the scene. But there is no secret recipe of how, even if you ask us how we turn from playing in your room to playing outside, is not one turning moment. It's a matter of a lot of opportunities, combination of events that leads you to play outside. But I don't see one better advice than just do what is important to do, which is focus on your music and on all the aspect of the club culture.
Yeah, very true. And also, I think you only make sense of things after they happen. So it's hard to understand what of the things you do would take to the next thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
We never thought, oh, we need to do that now to reach this or something like this. But afterwards, you're right. After thinking, oh, it's like, maybe because of this that thing started to open doors for us or things like that. So do things that you feel from your heart, you know. I can give you a quick example. When COVID happened, one thing that I decided to do is to get really deeper into production because, of course, no clubs, so that's the perfect moment. I love analog stuff, so I bought many synths, mixer. I had a room full of things, and then it was actually a great period where I learned a lot, and it changed also my way of digging records and of seeing music because I was spending really literally 8 hours per day for a year and a half, let's say, focused on understanding how sound was made, and I'm someone who needs to understand how things are done. And at a moment, I realized the reason why I stopped having this goal of putting out music is that I realized that I was doing it because everybody told me that if you wanted to go to the next step, you needed to make music. But I didn't feel the need inside my heart of producing music. It's not something that came from me. And I was like, I will never be able to put out something good enough if it doesn't come from me. If it's just something that is a goal, I prefer not to do it. And if the reason is just because I need music to be out, then no. I will continue just focus on DJing and we'll try to make it as a DJ. So for me, doing something for reaching certain milestones is not a way to go. And it will, for me, it will never work.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I think also the intrinsic motivation, like the pleasure you get, like if you feel something, you want to do it independently of the outcome that would lead. That's probably why then but the paradox is you become more successful at that because you can do that indefinitely. There's no end. Like you can play forever. You like it so much. Fuck it. It doesn't need to bring you to the next thing. So couple of rapid questions before we wrap up. If you could choose one closing track for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
That's a tough one.
Me, if I had, I mean, of course, it's always hard to choose one, but if I had to choose one, would be Back Home from Anthony Water. It's a track that I played a lot as a closing track. And each time I play it for a certain period and I stop playing it, and just a year and a half after I put it out again and continue and play it again, because it's a track that has for me a perfect vibe finish for a set. Also the title Back Home means we're all on the dance floor, we're back home, where we feel home basically. And it has a super nice groove. Of course, it's Anthony Water, so it's perfectly produced, and the sound design of the track is amazing. But it has a nice groove. It has a nice dreamy melody also, but not too cheesy. It has some vocals, which I really like also for closing track. It has moments where everything stops and it's just drums that makes people like lose the last energy before dreaming again. I think that's a perfect like closing tracks that I could use over and over and over and over and continue overuse it without any problem.
Very cool. Yeah.
But for me, it's I have a set of tracks that I like to use as closing tracks. What they have in common though is that I like when it goes to more like melancholy kind of vibe, without making the crowd go completely down,
Depressed.
They are depressed, you know. So for me, it's good when there's a balance between like a sadness, melancholia, but also a drive. Like, okay, it's the end of the party. It was nice. We were there together. Let's enjoy this last one, and then it's over. So a good one for this, I think, is Claro Intelecto, Peace of Mind, for instance, or like Battles from Emika, remixed by Space Kamikaze Program.
Okay, very cool. And Anthony Rother, I think a lot of people use a lot of tracks from Anthony Rother specifically because he has this dreamy component. Also, I really like this dreamy atmosphere. I also think that the closing track of the set is one of the tracks that people remember the most out of the entire experience.
I think the last, it's always, I remember the first 15 minutes and the last 15 minutes of the set.
Yeah.
This is, of course, there are key moments in the set, but this is what you, for sure, they're going to remember.
Yeah.
First, when they're conscious.
Yes.
Because the rest, they are more like taking, they trust you. If you manage to create the trust, they're just following what you do and they go into their trip. And then usually when they see the time and they see, oh, it's going to finish soon, they start to become conscious again about, okay, we're just waiting that it's finished.
Yeah,
so
they're landing back to reality. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to add that for me it's also, and that's something we like to do as well, that at the end, towards the end of the set, so you made the people go in states of introspection and think and trip about a lot. And it's good at the end to not just stop like this, but that the last hour or half an hour is focused on landing them towards the closing track, towards the end, you know.
Yeah, I think especially if you have a long set, I think it's easier to do that. You dedicate the last hour to landing, soft landing. And would you rather play in front of 10,000 strangers that you cannot connect with after, or 50 friends?
Or 50 friends, for sure.
Yeah, difference for sure.
I mean, we're still part of
Hands
a
down.
crew that we organize a small DIY weekend or festival every year called Mini Job, and there we have 300 people maximum capacity, and it's 300 people we know, or their second layer of friends, but we at least know them.
Friends of friends, yeah.
And this is the best moment where we play every year.
Very cool.
It's a special feeling.
Yeah. What's the location?
It depends. It changes all the time. It's something we don't really promote at all because it's something for friends.
Intimate,
it's something for friends. It's something very intimate. It has never the intention of being known or anything. It's really something that is made for friends. Because again, this is how it started, and this is something we want to keep. Even though we had proposal to make it bigger and so on, was never the intention.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I'm organizing also like something similar for 100 people. And for me, those are the best parties because you really get the chance of it. I don't know if yours is like more than one day, but if you do it, it is, yeah. So you get really the chance to speak with everybody, connect, and you enjoy, it feels enough, like to have that kind of crowd.
Exactly.
You don't need to have the attention of more people, you just prefer the connection.
Yeah.
You just grab the essence of what raving, I guess, what raving was, because it was before generation. But just this pure essence of connecting and partying. Yeah,
connecting outside of the reality of what we live normally. Very beautiful. What's one DJ or artist of any kind you guys would spend 1 week alone with on a deserted island?
If I'm spending 1 week alone on an island, I don't want to be with another DJ.
It could be another artist.
I mean, depends.
It's not gonna be Chami for sure.
No, for sure not. But for me, it would depend if it's if I take the question into someone I really want to learn a lot of things that I never had the chance to learn would be Jeff Mills. This is someone that I would have to have the longest possible conversation. First, I want to hear all his stories from the past and. But if I have to choose someone for the fun, then the question is different. If I have to be on an island for a week, I have to think about who I would choose. But definitely I have a list of DJs that I will have a lot of fun in a week alone on an island.
So Jeff Mills for learning and inspiration?
Yeah, Jeff Mills would be like definitely for hearing all his stories and seeing how his mind thinks and how he managed to achieve all these different type of projects, going from jazz music to any kind of electronic music. This is something that I definitely would want to have the opportunity to know one day. Yeah,
very interesting. For you, Pierre?
Honestly, it's hard to answer this one because so many different influences that I would love, also, of course, to spend some time with like one of those biggest ones, you know. But at the same time, also not sure I want to know them, you know. Also like this relation I have with them. So honestly, I have no clue with who I would.
I think for the fun part, I would choose Olivia Mendes. 1 week with Olivia, we're gonna laugh every 5 seconds.
Yeah. I'll pick that answer. Yeah,
Yeah, Olivia Mendes.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we know each other. We are very close friends.
Yeah.
We have a lot of projects together. But like, if I need a week of fun, then me and Olivia, we have always fun. That's why we love to go to play together somewhere.
I
We
will.
already spent 3 days weekend together, so 1 week could be.
Yeah, it will be a leg extension. Long weekend. It's funny. We're laughing because we had another guest who said the same thing. Olivia Mendes, and this other guest referred to Olivia fun because of the video where Olivia's like surfing and making an omelette. Have you watched this
Yeah,
video?
yeah, making a crepe actually.
Making a crepe. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Of
she's
course,
super
I
fun.
watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time together. She's actually, we're always, most of the time, the three of us, this time it was more focused on us, but me and her, we have also other project, label, and things that gonna be launched. So we play a lot of back-to-back also together, Olivia and I. But yeah, we always have a lot of fun, but in a good way. Like, it's never too much. It's always on a level that is made to chill out and just like enjoy and just take this with a very,
Yeah.
let's say, childish,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
in a
say,
good way.
right.
A good childish
We
spirit.
reconnect with our inner child.
Yeah,
actually.
exactly.
It's like we're on a playground again.
Yeah, yeah, she's great. Like, I got the chance to meet her and spend very little time, but some interactions with her, amazing.
Yeah.
Really good energy, really a person like it brings like the sun. You know, in the
Amazing
room.
person and
Yeah.
amazing DJ too.
Amazing digital, yeah. And last question, we have closing tradition, which is we ask everybody to what question they think we should ask next guest. So can be anything, can be something deep, can be something more superficial or fun.
I have one actually. That could be interesting to ask. What would be to ask this guest to create a lineup, like a dream lineup, to expand on that concept. Yeah, for
Dream
a
lineup.
festival, for a party, for like a weird concept. I don't know, but
Perfect. Dream lineup. And what do you think?
Me, I would ask to this guest how much this guest is willing to adapt his music style to continue fitting to what's working in the future music style-wise.
Okay, very cool. And as you might expect, there is a question for you. 2 questions. So question 1 is, what does it mean to be an artist?
For me,
For you.
being an artist is basically doing something first that I don't know how to explain, but that comes from your heart, that you love so much that there is no finality of it, and expressing yourself in a different way than using word, and using your art, basically the tool you're using to express yourself, which for us is playing music, to touch people and to create emotion in external people. So there is you always have a message behind what you're doing, and using the tool that you love the most to express your message and pass a message to other people. That would be for me being an artist.
Thank you.
for
Yeah.
me it's so similar, I think. But it's for me being an artist is so being able to perceive the world in a certain way that is true to yourself, and also to then communicate it. So it's to other people. So it's a way to connect with the world as well as the people. And the difficulty of it is to stay true to actually this way you have to perceive it and communicate it.
Yeah.
To develop it, but not be too much influenced by others. Only keep what's talking to you and what makes sense to you.
So it will be authentic, really feeling and then communicating authentically. Last question. If you have a club, how would you name it?
Wow. So you need to understand that he can tell you I'm the worst with naming things.
Or
my
remembering names.
my artist name
Is your name.
my name. My things is like
Simple,
it's
authentic.
like whatever. Like it is like probably I would call it the name of the street where it is. Like something that has no. I was never into this kind of people that needs to conceptualize things, and then I love it when they do it. When someone has a concept behind and a name is connected to the state of mind and to the vision of the club and everything. Me, I was never like this. For me, it was always a name is just something to identify something. So it can be named the address of the place would be perfect for
Done.
me.
Simple. Pierre?
Yeah, for me it's so I'm the opposite. I'm
Yeah.
really into these things. I can go really, really crazy about concept and mixing concept together. And so I think I don't know what the name will be, but the club will never open because I will still be thinking about it.
So wait, it's ready, but I'm still thinking about the
Have
name.
a better name.
One second. We're gonna put in resident advisor. Guys, on that note, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and super fun to get to know you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. We had also, I think, a lot of fun sharing a bit more in details our concept and our project and how we are interacting with each other.
Yeah, was great. A lot of inspiration from you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.